Hello and welcome to Inform New Hampshire. My name is Dean. This is Richie to my right, my co-host, and we have Linda here as our guest today. So we're going to talk about a number of different subjects today. We do have our Inform New Hampshire YouTube channel, which is available on YouTube. You just do a search for that, and you can subscribe to us and like us if you will. We also have a Facebook page called Facebook group called Inform New Hampshire, where we post a lot of detailed information. We're concerned about the direction of our country. We're happy to report to you and comment to you on items that you will not find in the mainstream media, oftentimes forbidden for them to talk about. And so we're hoping to just inform people and spread the light of truth around the country to illuminate some of the things that are happening behind the scenes. And we will continue to do this and update you on stuff that we've talked about in the past. So first of all, we're going to start out by a little tribute to our friend Jerry Delamus, if you want to, Richard.
Yes, Jerry was moved recently to Fort Devens in Massachusetts. Excuse me. And his wife Susan is ecstatic about that. I'm still a little bit angered by it. He's an innocent man, shouldn't be in jail. However, as we do every week, I'd like to ask it, say your prayers for Jerry and Sue. They certainly need him. He's been sentenced to 8 years in jail. And if you find it in your heart to send some money, please do so. Go online at freejerrydelemus.com and contribute what you can. I'm sure that they'd appreciate it. Thank you. I wanted to say something else in reference to that. I was going to wear my foil hat today, but I kind of look stupid in it, so I took it off. But I wanted to say to the people out there, and I know there's a lot of you, I got them in my own family. They think I'm obsessed. They think I wear a tinfoil hat. Send this video to them, please. I would ask you to do that. And there's a reason for it, and I'll show you in a few seconds here. But it's time that this country started waking up to the pitfalls that we're all in. And I know some people out there are totally oblivious. I've heard a lot of people say, well, I'd like to keep a positive attitude. Well, so do I. I like to keep a positive attitude, but not when the scat is up to my neck. And it is. I mean, turn on, here's a great source of information. I don't know if Dean's going to put it on later. But Jerry Day. Go on YouTube, put on Jerry Day. Phenomenal guy. Great spokesperson, very intelligent man. Very clear, precise, concise. Just someone you want to listen to. And the reason that I'm suggesting that you send this, because I send it to my brothers and sisters, and one of my brothers disowned me, which is fine. I got 4 other ones. I still say that it doesn't matter Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, you got to wake up. Your government is corrupt. It's organized crime at its finest. And in order for us to stop them, the people have to do it. And I'm not talking about with guns, because that's a losing battle. I'm talking about standing up for your rights. The Constitution. What I wanted to say, and it has to do with Jerry Delamus, I found out, I was thinking about this between shows last week and now. I searched high and low to figure out what was going on with Jerry's situation, and again with Gregory Burleson, 53-year-old man who just got 68 years in prison for doing the same thing as Jerry, standing up for his rights. No one killed, no one murdered, no one injured, nobody robbed, nobody raped, no major crime whatsoever. Just fabricated BS that the government put on these guys for standing for their rights. And they gave him a death sentence, because he's not going to live 68 years. Well, I don't think so anyway. But I found out who the culprit is. The ones that are responsible for these people sitting in jail, and even Robert Lavoie Finnegan, who got murdered, is, are you ready? I don't have the tinfoil hat on. It's we the people. How can you possibly sit on a jury and decide the facts of a trial without knowing what the law is? Explain that to me. How do you know what the law is? Is it what the lawyers or the judges tell you it is? Or is it what is written in here? This is the law. If you don't read it, you don't know. And if you sentence your neighbors to prison like what has happened here, you're the one that's responsible for it. You have to learn the law. You have to know what your rights are. We went through this before, me and Dean, and I said, Dean, shut up and sit down. We were just obviously demonstrating something. If Dean sits down and he's quiet, I just removed his right to speak. He didn't stand up forcefully and exercise that right. Well, if you don't exercise your right to know what the law is, this is the people's law. This isn't the government's. We gave this to the government to obey. If you don't think so, read it. Don't think I got a tinfoil hat on and say the guy's crazy. Read it, then tell me I'm crazy. Same with the state constitution. They're the people's law. We gave them to the government to obey. Our law is common law, or was common law. Now our law is organized crime. Whatever, I don't know who's running the damn show, but whoever it is, that's who's responsible for telling us what the law is. That's why Robert Lavoy Finicum was murdered, and there isn't anybody that was brought to charges or brought to bear on this thing. They got away with it. They murdered this guy in cold blood. Same with Waco. What was it, 70 or 80 people murdered there? They were gunned down exiting the burning building, but they didn't show that on the mainstream media. People were actually gunned down coming out of a burning building. That's how sick some of these people in the government are. And I'm not condemning everybody in our government, but you good people have the guts to stand up. Have the guts to stand up. Be a man or a woman out there, because your children got to grow up in the environment that you're helping to create. And I wanted to make this point. It doesn't matter what Democrat, Republican, who you like, who you don't like. I really don't care. It's your government going down the toilet and my government going down the toilet. Do you want to do something? Stand up for your rights. Learn what the law is. In the 7th Amendment to the United States Constitution, it says this very, very clearly. No fact tried by a jury shall be re-examined in any court in the United States. That's very plain and very simple. When the jury makes a decision, that's the people making the decision. Nobody overturns it. Nobody. Not the president, not Congress, nobody. But when that idiot out there, Gloria Adolph Navarro, didn't like a decision, she sent the jury back. Are you serious? I'd tell her to go to hell. Put me in jail. The law is the law, not what you say it is. Anyway, I wanted to make that point because I believe it's very important. I also believe this country's on the verge of either becoming a great nation again, and I'm not, talking about Donald Trump saying, I'm talking about the people. Donald Trump isn't going to save you, you're going to save you. So I'm asking you to stand up, be a proud American, but understand what the law is, and then exercise your rights. With that, I'll say thank you, and I'll bow to Mr.
Am I allowed to talk
Mr. Kern
again?
and Lynn. Yeah.
Can I talk again?
That was excellent. And last week's show was
thinking.
excellent.
All right.
Yeah, you can talk.
So, just real quick, Richie, who is the sovereign, the state or the people?
Well, according to the answer to that is the people, but according to the New Hampshire Constitution under Article 7, it says the people of this state have the sole and exclusive right of governing themselves as a free, sovereign, and independent state. Who has the right? The people of this state. Not the state, the people of this state. So I'd have to say the sovereign now.
Well, that brings up an interesting, real short article by Judge Dale, a sovereign citizen. Our federal government has instructed our federal, state, and local police agencies that everyone who purports to be a sovereign should be treated as a terrorist. They have also brainwashed the American public into believing that being a sovereign is an anti-American or unpatriotic. Perhaps this is the pot calling the kettle black. What is sovereignty? It is the inherent right and prerogative of a civilized people to rule itself and to dictate all of the forms and conditions of the institution it sets up to carry out this rule. Ironically, the U.S. Supreme Court agrees with those who claim to be sovereign citizens of the American Republic. Bond versus the United States. The Supreme Court held that the American people are in fact sovereign and not the states or the government. The court went on to define that local, state, and federal law enforcement officers were committing unlawful actions against the sovereign people by enforcing the laws and are personally liable for their actions. A little more there about Bond versus the United States. What are the implications of this year 2000 U.S. Supreme Court ruling? Number one, the delegates to the first federal convention prohibited the use of corporations by all governments representing the American Republic. Therefore, all of these corporate governments and their corporate laws are a usurpation of the organic Constitution of the United States of America. All state governments are now sub-corporations of the federal government, making all courts and all law enforcement personnel corporate federal agencies or employees. See James Madison Journal of the Federal Convention, Volume 2, whatever. The state and federal government is a corporation, and therefore the Congress, state legislatures, city councils, municipalities, and all state and federal courts are corporate entities posing as constitutional branches of government. We've done whole shows on this, demonstrating that this is all privately owned corporate tyranny.
Yeah, this is from a retired judge, by the way, just so you know that again.
Corporations are privately owned businesses, meaning that the corporate United States belongs to one or more private individuals, which is always governed by a board of directors. The corporate United States is privately owned by a group of European royal and elite individuals tied to the Federal Reserve System, and the letters of incorporation are recorded in the Vatican. The President of the United States is actually the CEO of the United States, and the Congress and all others are corporate employees. Everything they do is in the interest of the corporate owners. I can't access those documents because of national security. That's just a comment he made. In order to promulgate and enforce criminal laws to govern the sovereign public, government must be sovereign too, which is an accepted rule of law derived from the ancient law of kings. Corporations are not and can never be sovereign. They are not real. They are a fiction, only exist on paper.
Piece of paper, right?
Therefore, all laws created by these government corporations are private corporate regulations called public law, statutes, codes, and ordinances to conceal their true nature. Do the judges and lawyers in your area know about this? You bet they do. Since these government bodies are not sovereign, they cannot promulgate or enforce criminal laws. They can only create and enforce civil laws, which are duly bound to comply with the law of contracts. The law of contracts requires signed written agreements and complete transparency. Did you ever agree to be arrested and tried under any of their corporate statutes? For that matter, did you ever agree to contract with them by agreeing to be sued for violating their corporate regulations? Do any of America's courts have jurisdiction over a sovereign? Yes, but only by your consent to be judged by the court. Can they compel, summon, or subpoena you to appear or participate in their process?
At the end of a gun, yes.
True. Well, no. They can't compel you, and yes, they can ask, but you can reject the accommodation in writing, and there's nothing they can do about it because you have refused to give the court jurisdiction over you. Enforcement of these corporate statutes by local, state, and federal law enforcement officers are unlawful actions being committed against the sovereign public, and these officers can be held personally liable for their actions. Bank versus USA, 529 U.S. 3334 2000. There being no constitutional criminal laws or transparency in the American justice system, everyone arrested, convicted, and sentenced to prison under these civil laws are imprisoned by consent, and therein all American jails are actually debtors' prisons. Almost done. Most of the country and the state prisons of all the federal prisons are privately owned corporate businesses for profit. When kicked back to the sentencing judges, the Bureau of Prison Privatization Management Branch provides general oversight for these institutions. So if they are convicted in these courts, you can expect to serve some jail time. Now you know why America has such high prison population. Can the state government and courts take custody of your children? Only with your consent. Otherwise, their agents and officers can be held personally liable for their actions. Orphans are a different matter and can become wards of the court until emancipated. Corporate governments are a usurpation of the organic American Constitution, and this corporatist onslaught in America has since its creation been an anti-sovereign and terroristic regime, and are in fact the real terrorists and traitors to the American Republic. Blessings. Judge Dale, retired.
I just wanted to add two things. look up the definition of the word civil. And secondarily, I mentioned Jerry Day earlier. One of the things he made a point of saying, and I've checked it out not fully, but I have checked it out, is that right now, all the crimes committed in the United States do not equal the civil forfeitures that our government perpetrates on us. Now, if you don't think there's something wrong with that, there's something wrong with you.
Hold on, let me ask the question.
That's
So you're saying that
unforgivable.
the sum total of all the financial crimes in the United States,
All crimes.
yeah, all crimes, the financial sum total of the crimes
Yes.
in the United States does not equal the sum total
Of
of
the
all
civil
the asset
forfeitures.
forfeitures by the governments
Yes.
against we the people.
Yeah, and most of those civil forfeitures are unconstitutional because people are not allowed due process.
They're unconstitutional, they're also unlawful.
Same thing, unlawful, unconstitutional,
Same thing, Richie.
same thing.
So we have a government that is stealing at a rate more than we the people steal from each other, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, the criminals used to be, and it's funny because I said this years and years ago, back in the 70s, they started cleaning up the mafia. You got Raymond Patriarca out, and I think the last one was the Teflon Don there. What's his name? Don Gotti.
They probably brought him in for consulting
John
fees,
Gotti.
consulting fees to tell him
Well,
how to do it.
The thing is, I was joking with some people, and I was working in law enforcement, and I said, yeah, they got organized crime off the street, now they're in government. And I was joking about it back then, not realizing how stupid I was. They are in our government.
I
They are
think you were
organized
ahead of your
crime.
time. You were ahead of your time, and that is not
Thinking.
stupid. That
Once
was
again, common
Ma-
sense
Well,
prevails.
I
Yes.
didn't realize it, though. I was saying it jokingly. Maybe there was a little, 50-50.
someone heard you
Yeah.
and thought it was a great idea.
So welcome, Linda. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
So we wanted to do a little crypto update because Linda had been on the show previously, and we talked about cryptocurrencies and things like that. And just a quick recap of the overall, well, I guess maybe I should say premise here is that, number one, we are about to lose our currency, the U.S. dollar, which is a debt instrument system created by the Federal Reserve, which is a privately owned corporation owned by the international banking cartel, who usurped our currency unlawfully against the Constitution back in 1913. And that dollar that they created has gone from basically the value of $1 down to 2 cents now. So your purchasing power has now been depleted by 98%. And that's why you're struggling week to week to get by. And that's the way that the tyranny system wants you, because they don't want you having power to sit around and think about what you might do if you found out that your whole country's being run by criminals and pedophiles and things like that.
Got another job.
Yeah, so cryptocurrency is a new technology, and well, we've talked a lot about it. There are some saying that it's even more valuable than gold simply because of its uniqueness in that, well, if you want to do a transaction with somebody out in California, you can't exactly run out there in a few hours and trade your gold and then transact with someone. It becomes very difficult to manage, and you also are susceptible to people stealing your gold. You have to be able to protect it if you're going to run around and make purchases, even on a corporate to corporate relationship. And so the cryptocurrencies are a new technology that's run. They're being run software driven by what's called a blockchain technology, which completely eliminates transparency of what's happening, and it prevents anyone from hijacking or siphoning off a portion of your transaction the way the government does. It keeps government out. And of course, if government is the mafioso style criminals that want to take part of every single little transaction you do, then it certainly poses a problem for them. And they're currently freaking out over how prominent and how explosive cryptocurrencies and the crypto technology is taking off right now. So, what do you think, Linda? Crypto here to stay?
God, you could just keep going. I like the way that sounds. Yeah, for the people, it's probably the most exciting time to be alive because of this process. It is the first time in human history that the powerful, egocentric entities that are out there, the criminal entities, are not in control of the money system. And this is really important to understand because the blockchain technology is not owned by anybody. There's no CEO at the top skimming from us. So much like what you're saying with the dollar going down to 2 cents, what do we have? This week, China and Russia did their first transaction in gold-based money, their own system separate from the Federal Reserve dollar. And so this is officially the beginning of the end.
Yeah, what Linda just said is very historical because since I've been alive, we've been operating on a system where the dollar was the reserve currency. Well, not since I've been alive. I guess the Bretton Woods, I believe, is when it became the world's currency, if I remember right. But what's happening is that other countries are getting together, and because they know that the U.S.-driven dollar system, which is owned by not the U.S. but by the international crime cartel, the Khazarian Mafia, or the international banking cartel, however you want to call them, they know that that's a criminal organization that has been creating wars, destroying populations, siphoning off assets, rigging the system, and cheating the people of the planet out of their wealth for decades and decades and decades, and they just keep doing it. And so they want a system that's separate from them so that they can restore integrity, honesty, and decency into the entire planet and stop the wars and prevent these evil people from running the planet any longer. So that's the bigger picture, but the little picture is they just want to be able to transact with each other without having to give some foreign corporate entity half of their transaction in order to do so, or permission to even participate in the game, creating monopolies and preventing certain players from getting involved or having success in an industry. They simply control everything with their fiat currency. So this is magical and mystical, and it's brilliant that it's happening. It's a bright light on the horizon for all of us. So
Absolutely.
Even though it's China and Russia moving away from the dollar, and it does pose the problem that, the dollar's going to collapse. But we knew that anyway, and we're happy to see it coming, even though it may cause us some trouble for a while, a couple years, whatever.
And that's why it's so important for people to get beyond their doubt. If you're a non-technical person, it's really easy to get sucked into these articles that tell you to beware or describe a pyramid scheme where you're going to get ripped off. So they cause fear, and really they want to cause fear. Here's why. The media companies are owned by 6 large, powerful people.
98% of the news and information consumed by the American public is run by 6 corporations, yes.
Right. So it's in their interest to scare you and make you nervous about adopting cryptocurrency. Because as long as you hold off, all of us, as long as we hold off, they stay in power, they can skim your dollar, and they're investing behind the scenes so fast that if you go online right now, you can see the transactions going through on $3,000 coins, and people are buying 250 of them. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm nowhere even in that realm. My head cannot even think of buying 350 coins that cost $3,000, but they can, right? So they, behind the scenes, right now, while you're listening to this or seeing their articles in any major newspaper, any major magazine, as you're reading an article saying stay away from it, they have people buying coins as fast as they can possibly get their hands on them because they're a limited number, and that gives huge value to what we're talking about, cryptocurrencies. There are only, 230 million Bitcoin? I think that's right, or somewhere close to that.
I think so.
They just broke off, and they created a second coin that is called Bitcoin Cash. It's been out for 2 days, maybe 3, at the day that we're taping this. That coin has the same issue. There are 230 million of them. People around the planet are buying them. In 2.5 days, that coin has gone up to it's about $400, $380, something like that. That's how fast people are buying these. So if you're watching the local paper or the local magazines and you're hearing stay away, there's a reason for it. So open your mind to a brand new opportunity for our children, for our grandchildren, even if you're not technically oriented. There are, 700, this is how important this technology is. There's technology that just came out that allows you to make a contract. Let's say I was buying a house from you, and you don't want to go to a real estate agent, you don't want to hire attorneys, you don't want to pay $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to go through the rigmarole of all of the paperwork. You just want a contract with me, and you're willing to pay a crypto bank, which they exist, a crypto bank for a loan, and every month you're going to pay a certain amount. And that's, you and I agree that that's good, and we agree. There's new technology on the blockchain that allows you and I, for free, to make this agreement. It comes with a safety that you'll get your money back if I don't pay you. And nobody owns that contract. It's alive until one of us fails. If I don't pay you, you'll automatically have access to your money. That's beautiful because it gets rid of a huge layer upon layer upon layer of people that are intermediaries, real estate agents, attorneys. You can do this with so many contracts, rely on $20,000 in attorney's fees to get something done. And all of that is able to be done with this blockchain technology. And it's all, God bless you, and it's all on a ledger form. So there's a complete record. It's not owned by anybody. It floats on different computers. Everybody has access to it, and they hold on to the record. So let's pretend that Manchester or all of New Hampshire, let's pretend we all lost our electricity right now. None of our computers work again. We don't lose a thing because this is global, okay? So there's no fear. There are so many people with computers that have a record. We don't have an issue with that. So if you're reading about fear-based items regarding crypto coins or blockchain technology, that's why. So with that, let's talk about what's cool about this and where this is going.
I've seen a number of commentators, even people that I respect and listen to, they were poo-pooing the idea of cryptocurrency, which was I just thought was interesting because they were bashing it a little bit. But I've seen them start to come around a little bit too. So it's starting to sink in a little bit that this is here to stay. It provides so many benefits to we the people. If you look at how the internet has just created an explosion of communication, instant access to information, peer groups being able to work with each other, just in an instant you can talk to anyone in the world. You can access information from anywhere. We recently found all the founding documents online that we can just read the original founding documents of our country and of our state. Everything is available out there. That's the internet. So the blockchain technology is a similar breakthrough. I don't know what else to say. There was some word I was looking for, but just
honest.
But
it demands honesty.
Yeah, the blockchain technology creates a system whereby nobody can hack it, nobody can get in and change it. Companies are adopting these technologies to run their companies on because it prevents others from stealing their information. So we can communicate with each other, and the reason it's called cryptocurrencies is because it's cryptology. What do you call the word?
It's encrypted, which means no one can read it. You can't figure out what that code is that locks my part of the contract with your part. Nobody can guess that. They can't even try to break it.
And rather than all of our information going from our home or our cell phone or our car, going out into the internet, being driven through a pipeline that goes through, maybe AT&T, maybe some other phone company or whatever. And then it goes through two different floors in the AT&T building, which is the NSA, and then it goes through some other place, which is the CIA, and they're all pulling that information out to create dossiers on you. They are databasing everything. They have fusion centers out in Utah and elsewhere around the country that completely, grab all this information, including your TV in your living room, which is spying on you, listening to you, and videotaping you.
Audio taping.
And it even says so in your little small manual that has written information about your Samsung TV is listening to you, and now they're selling that information to tell other companies what you're talking about buying. So that stuff, all that pipeline of information, is being distributed differently now with the blockchain technology. It goes out onto the internet, but it's not being held in a central place where anybody could do anything to it. It's being held on every little computer around the world. So that's like a rudimentary description of what's happening. Unfortunately, I'm not a technologist and I can't tell you all the details, but what it does is it empowers we the people to communicate, to transact, to create markets, to spend money or anything we want to do. We can do it privately between each other without interference, without intervention, and without somebody controlling us every step of the way. So it's a huge move forward in the area of liberty and freedom for we the people. So this technology is here to stay. So there's always been a lot of talk about currency reset happening sometime in the future. Well, this is it. This is the currency reset. It's happening. It's just happening organically through technology and through innovation and through people who are inspired to create great things. They are creating them now, and they're using the blockchain technology to do it. And we, the people who are still running around spending little dollars and aren't aware of it, are going to be a little caught off guard. So I would encourage you to go out and start looking at this. A great website to go to get started is Coinbase. I believe it's here in the U.S. I can't remember. No, I think it's outside. A lot of these companies, and don't be afraid, but they are based outside of the U.S. because the U.S. has so many laws on the books that would prevent them from, or at least expose them to legal action, that most of this stuff's being done outside the USA, which is no big deal. It's very simple. You get on your computer, you create it. So Linda and I basically walked through this together, created accounts on Coinbase, bought some Bitcoin, bought some Ethereum, and with those two cryptos, you can then go into other exchanges like Bittrex or something else and start to purchase some of the other coins that are out there. We do some research, and if you want to do research, look at Cliff High at halfpasthuman.com. Cliff High is a fantastic linguistic researcher who does a web bot that goes out and grabs information from all over the world and then comes back and he deciphers all the information and he comes out with predictive linguistics telling you what's happening in the near future and the distant future based on things that are coming out of human beings' mouths, because we're all psychic and we all spit out stuff that's very rare sometimes. So it's a lot to digest, but he's accurate. He's been doing it for 25 years. He's fantastic. Cliff High, halfpasthuman.com. Go ahead, Linda. Anything?
I want to ask you a question, Linda.
Go.
I know the least of the cryptocurrencies out, Dean and Linda, but my question is, it sounds as if being involved in the cryptocurrency makes you more of a private person as opposed to the public side, which is what our government dragged us into.
Hallelujah. You named it. You're exactly on.
Well, no, that to me is a major asset.
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
And I never thought of it that way, I'll be honest with you. I don't know that much about the cryptocurrency, but that fact in and of itself is really, really important.
Countries are adopting this all over the world. Japan announced that they were going to have 10,000 of their companies accept Bitcoin within like the next year, and that was a few months back. But if you can imagine that, let's just say as an example, suppose you had an eBay or Amazon who set up their system to be crypto organized with their software system, then we could start making purchases without all the
rules.
All the companies that want to know what to market us and things like that, without everybody involved, without government taking their portion of it and that sort of thing. And by the way, one cryptocurrency named Veritasium is in the process right now of porting the Jamaican Stock Exchange, which of course is a very small, insignificant stock exchange on the world stage, but nevertheless it is a stock exchange. They are porting that to the blockchain technology, and it's supposed to take off later this month to actually be, it will be the first ever, I would say, honest and integrous stock exchange system that would eliminate all the corruption and control that you might see in the other systems. So we will update you on that further because it's kind of exciting. I mean, for a nerd like me, it's kind of exciting, but it demonstrates the possibility of what can be done. with this blockchain technology. And I'm always asking myself, well, who's going to be the first one to come out with a voting blockchain technology so that we, the people, can vote for our representatives without all the corruption? And by the way, we showed it last week on NPR, did a study of 25 million of Hillary's votes were fake,
Yes.
illegal, non-votes anyway.
Yes.
So cryptocurrencies, what do you think?
So let's talk about time. When you can trust this? The answer is now. Cryptocurrencies have been, Bitcoin has been around about 8 years. Here's the estimated adoption rate for the populace around the world. This is hitting almost every single country in the world is actively interested in this, because anyone that has formally been forced to use the fiat paper dollar system, as that crumbles, and you did a great job of talking about how it was crumbling. It's down to 2 cents, right? And yeah, and I heard a hopeful, maybe when the estimates came out, it would be 3 cents, and then I heard it was really truly 2 cents, which shocked me, because I was hoping for 3, but we lost it. So almost every single country in the world is being affected by this. The countries that are not using the Federal Reserve currency: Russia, North Korea, Syria. Did those ring a bell?
Iran.
Yeah.
Iran.
The countries that don't have something.
And the
Iran.
most recent conversions were Libya, crushed by Hillary Clinton, Iraq, taken over by the Bush administration, and there's a couple other. I think it was United Emirates, might be one of them, or there was a couple of those Arab Spring places over there that they attacked, and the CIA did their fake, oh, this is an uprising, when it wasn't. It was the CIA funding it, George Soros and people like that. So they took over small countries and they implanted the Federal Reserve banking system. So,
Right. So those countries, and you'll know that's why we're bringing it up, that we hear negative feedback all about those countries, how we have to take them over and blah, blah, blah. It's all because the people with the Federal Reserve dollar want the power and they want to replace their governments. So those people will not be affected, but the rest of the world will be affected because the dollar's going away slowly but surely. How long will it take? It took 8 years up to now. Now it's fulfilled over 1%, which is huge when you're talking about 6 billion people. They say 8 months, it'll hit 2% of the population, and then 8 weeks, it'll hit 3% of the population. Well, remember with our independence, it only takes 3% to be a moving force globally is huge. Those numbers are huge and worthwhile. So if what we're talking about is totally foreign and you're feeling like it's too hard to take part, or maybe you're older like us and you want to just have some cryptocurrency that you can hold, go to Coinbase.com, put $20 in, buy Bitcoin. Go to My Ether wallet, and you can print it out there. That's it. You can print it out. You can put it in a box. You can put it under your bed. You can forget you have it. And in 20 years, you can leave it to your grandchildren. If that's what you're capable of doing, then that's fine. That will work. If you're more technically oriented, or you're maybe in your 20s or 30s, this will be your money. Now, I know this can seem very strange because way back in time, they had tally sticks, and people used to write their ledger on a stick. And eventually, the governments wanted to go to paper currency. It was so scary to them, they avoided it. They hid their tally sticks. People said, no, I won't trust paper. The governments came in some cases, stole their sticks, and they gave them back paper dollars. And people were so afraid of the paper dollars, they hid them in their closet, and they didn't do anything with them for a while until everyone else got used to it. This is just the next step. Now we're used to paper, and we're going to move to computer-oriented. Like an iPhone, you can pay for things. And the way to pay for it is to use BitPay. That's a very easy computer credit card. it's like our credit cards now, but it uses cryptocurrency. So just for if you have a nephew, a niece, or if you're in that 20 to 30 window and you want to just use cryptocurrency from now on, then go to bitpay.com and sign up, and you'll have a credit card, and you can go into McDonald's or wherever you go, spend money like you always have. No one will know the better, because the credit card doesn't care if you pay in crypto. It'll transfer it to US dollars, and that's how the transaction will go through, which is amazing, because that's what we've waited for. We've waited for that ease of use.
I think a lot of people don't realize that in England they used the tally stick for 724 years. A stick. That was the currency.
And they hid them.
If you think about that, whatever we
It's
accept,
the longest
that's
running
what the
currency
currency
there ever
is.
was.
Yes, it is. And it's whatever we accept, that's going to be the currency. So it's up to the people. It's not up to the banks. They think it is, but it's a different story. I like the privacy part of it, by the way.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Well, and it allows that on any platform, not just currencies, but also in communications, voting. Like I said, just wherever you want to have privacy set up, you can have it completely private now.
Yeah, if I make a purchase, I don't want the world knowing about it. I don't care what marketing or the government to keep track of it. It's no
Well,
one's business.
There's plenty
So
of
if I send me 6 socks in a packages.
There's plenty of you
Just
out there
know.
now who have had that shocking moment where you're in bed talking to your wife or someone else and about something you want to purchase, and all of a sudden on your computer that starts coming up on your computer, advertisements for that product. That's just a scary game that's going on, and I've had that happen. When it happened, I was like, oh man, this is too far. These people are in my house, we're listening to what I say, and they're just trying to feed me information on what to buy. Just a little note on the process that, like Linda said, if you go to Coinbase or some other cryptocurrency exchange or asset purchasing website, you will have to go through a little bit of a process. So when I went to Coinbase, I signed up. I had to literally send in a copy of my license, and I had to connect my bank account through a 2-step process of proving that it's my bank account. And I had to have my own cell phone be like when I sign on to Coinbase, I can't get on unless I get a text on my cell phone saying, okay, here's a number to prove it's you. Now I can suspend that level of security if I want, so I don't have to do that. But the initial part of showing that you are, verifying that you really are who you are, that you have to go through, just like if you were going for a bank account. They do the same thing. When you open a bank account, well, it's the same thing here. You just have to send it over the internet to them and prove that you are who you are. So it may take a day or two to set up an account. Once you're there, you can pull US dollars into your Coinbase account and then spend a US, like she said, $20 US, buy $20 worth of Bitcoin, for instance. And so now you have Bitcoin sitting in that account. It's no longer a US dollar. Well, over time, as this US dollar goes away, of course, these Bitcoins and other coins are becoming more value in relation to the dollar, because the dollar is waning in value. Yeah. So it's a way to prevent losing your assets, your paper assets called dollars and stuff. Now, when there is, in the future, as the dollar collapses, there will be what many refer to as a bank holiday, or a point in time where the system is going to crash, and they're literally going to stop you, just like they did in Greece. You see this happening around the world. They are starting to take control of your ability to own and control your own assets. So, for instance, in Congress, they created a law over a couple years ago that says when your money, the proceeds of your labor, you take a check from your employer, you put it into a bank in your own name and your own account, that's no longer your dollars. That belongs to the bank. Now, you have accessing rights to get it, but that's because they're giving you the privilege of letting you take that money back out. If they cut you off and say, no, you can't have that anymore, or they say, well, we're going to have to give everybody a haircut, they talked about that in Greece, and say that $20 is now only worth 10. We're going to do it, because we're going to devalue the currency. So you're going to lose your assets instantaneously, and that won't happen in cryptocurrency. That won't happen if your assets are in, let's just say, dried food storage in your house. Guess how valuable that food becomes when the system starts to collapse and you're prepared because you have food, water, supplies, and things like that. Those are the things you need to get by during disasters or during economic collapse. Change of currency in a government organization like the United States, which is coming. So if you want to put some of your current paper dollar assets, it's basically just exchanging it into another asset location called a cryptocurrency. And of course, it's faith-based driven at this point, and you are certainly at risk. Could those currencies take a dive, the cryptocurrencies? Well, there's some who joke that if you haven't lived through a Bitcoin dive, then you're not really a Bitcoiner, because there are drastic ups and downs in the Bitcoin value paradigm. But in general, they are on a skyrocketing platform right now. So it's here to stay.
Well, Linda, can you explain, if you know the answer to this? You said there was $230 million in Bitcoin?
I think that
21
number is
million.
right. 21 million?
21 million.
That's nothing compared. That's Boston. That's
Oh,
not
no,
even
but
Boston.
what I mean is, it's not all sold yet? There's still Bitcoin you can buy?
Isn't that
Obviously.
amazing? It's a great question. Bitcoin has now, when they go and they make a blockchain, they're actually doing a math problem, which is very odd to explain, but that's how it works. Once they have the answer to a math problem, it creates a lock. 2 + 3 = 5. It's much more complicated than
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But once they have that lock, that is a Bitcoin. Let's pretend. They can make 230 million of these. So at some point, they won't have any more. And they are right now turning the corner. They used to be able to do the math problem really fast and come up with one. There's 230 million altogether. So as they answer the math problem, it gets harder and harder to come up with an answer and create a new coin. At some point, it may take a whole year to figure out the last ones. So we're coming to that point where it's taking a lot of time to answer it and get a new
More and
one.
more complex.
But
Right.
the uniqueness or the fungibility of this cryptocurrencies is the fact that they can be subdivided infinitely. And so even if there were only, 100,000 Bitcoins out there, the system could still work. You would simply have divisions of those coins. So for instance, if I spend $20 on a Bitcoin right now, I have 0.00000013 Bitcoins. That's it's roughly that. It's that comes out to you think you know I'm close. I got 5 zeros, so you know I'm close.
You're good.
So that's the unique. So it can still be traded even in those values, if you know what I mean.
But they will sell them all, and there is, like you always have had a share of corporations in the market, and you can go see what corporations you can buy into in the market. These coins have their own market for all the new technology being created with it, like he mentioned Veritasium.
Mm-hmm.
So when they sell out on the Bitcoin, they rolled out a new, faster one called BitCash, very much like it. And there are all kinds of other ones that you can find, and the website is bitrix.com. Don't let this get overwhelming. But you can go to bitrix.com and actually see all the coins and all the new technology. Some are owned by companies, and they have to pay employees. So they want you to buy their coins so they can roll out a new company.
Right.
Like I mentioned the credit card company. Well, they have employees, and they're producing things, so they need money, and they want you to own shares in it or coins in it. And then there are other ones that are just computer programs. There are no people behind it. And so that one is a separate sort of market,
Yeah.
all rolled up together. It takes a while, but go onto YouTube and listen to some basic information about it, and you'll get an idea. Now, we are right now filming in New Hampshire. We need New Hampshire people to adopt a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of these types of coins. We just need it so that as the dollar loses value, we won't be in trouble. We need like, I'm from Massachusetts. I'm encouraging Massachusetts people, buy a little bit. It doesn't have, it can be $20, because this thing
This
is
is how we
brand
set
new.
up and we develop a way to have a
Yes.
market for ourselves when they destroy the current dollar system market. We want to be able to trade with each other. So what
It's a
she's saying.
parachute.
It's a parachute.
Let me
right?
give you an example of another, because I've been thinking of it, is another company that started up, and you'll probably name the Bitcoin because I can't remember the name of the coin, but they created a cryptocurrency where people that are in business, companies around the world, can have invoices that are sitting unpaid. And so they can put those invoices on the market, and they become, there's a certain value in those invoices because somebody is going to collect on them. So anyone can invest in that invoice at a discount rate, and then the company gets funded right away instead of needing so much capital. You have to have a lot of capital when you have invoices sitting there for 60, 90, 120 days, depending on who's paying you. If it's the state of Illinois, you're not going to get paid, by the way. So, those people right there from the state of Illinois, I'd be putting those invoices on the market right away to get some cash out. But anyway, there's just so many applications for this. Everything we do is applicable to the whole cryptocurrency. Just like everything you do on your phone, your computer, everything that's electronic, our power industry and everything can be put on this blockchain technology where it's protected, secure, private, integrous, meaning nobody can cheat you, steal from you, or anything like that.
Populous.
We're getting low on time. Is there anything like big and
Populous is the coin you want.
Populous is the coin that I was
And-
just talking about. Yeah.
And you should. There's a CEO interview on YouTube. If you see this on YouTube, if you want to really enjoy yourself, go check out the YouTube video on Populous CEO. He does an interview, and he's a technology geek, and he came up with this idea, not because of the money. He wasn't money driven. He was trying to think of the use of this thing and came up with it. And it's solving a huge amount of troubles for small businesses that say I get my teeth done by a dentist and I agree to monthly payments. And so the dentist has to buy all the stuff to do my teeth. And he's hoping I keep my payments up. Well, in the background, banks set up big pools of money so that dentist can go put his invoice in for my teeth, and then he can get paid and keep his company going. But the banks charge him 20% of the work to even be part of this. So with cryptocurrency, he won't have a 20% charge on it. He'll just be part of it, and it will get done.
Is there one website where you can go check out all of these cryptocurrencies?
The best thing to do is go to YouTube and just type in cryptocurrencies and watch some explanations of it.
Okay.
Yeah,
just
that's
look it
great.
up that way, because there's a lot of people out there talking about it and teaching people on YouTube on cryptocurrencies.
Okay, I just want to finish at least my segment with saying, when I told you about studying the law, I didn't mean statutes and codes that don't apply to you for the most part. Common law applies to you, so just read the constitutions and understand that, and share this with the people who think you get the silver hat or whatever the hell they call
Here's
it.
a couple of current affair headlines that I didn't get to, but I wanted to. A1 Gate, with Debbie Wasserman Schultz, there's some updates there. I'll bring them to you next week if I can. Trump speeds up the border wall. Some of the technology that's going into the border wall is very fascinating. There's a very fringe, far out there conversation that I wanted to have about 4chan, like a website. 4chan is freaking out about this, the idea of President Trump's son being a time traveler. But I know it sounds crazy, but there's some books
It's very
written.
interesting.
There's some
It's
books
amazing.
written in 1800s that literally describe what's happening right now with Barron Trump and Donald Trump. And guess what? The technology going into the border wall may be associated with Nikola Tesla, because Trump's uncle, John Trump, was the MIT professor who did the research for the FBI on the papers they stole from Nikola Tesla after he died, to see if there was any military application for that. That was Donald Trump's uncle, people. Did you know that? No, you didn't know that, because the media is not going to report that to you. The DOJ releases emails from the FBI that Comey said didn't exist. Oh, they exist. He just didn't want to admit it.
500 of them.
Former Navy SEAL Craig Sawyer talks about the gruesome massacre that'll happen if Trump is removed from office in an illegal coup attempt, which is happening right now. They're all talking about it. They're bragging about it. We love you. We appreciate you watching our show. Tune in next week. We'll be back with some new fun and information.
Thank you, and share.
Thank you,
And
Linda,
thank you
for
for
being
Linda.
with us. Yeah, appreciate it.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you.